Unit 2. And this poem is all about village song, which is written by the poet Sarojini Naidu, isn't it? Now, the title Village Song is somehow known as a highly appropriate as it captures both the rural settings. When we say that a rural setting, it means what? We are talking about the countryside, or we talk about the village areas, isn't it? And if you talk about that, the poem is nothing but a folk-like musical quality, Folk, folk-like musical quality of the piece. When we talk about folk, it means referring to the, old people, or you can talk about old song, which is generally used by the village people, isn't it? So the poem resembles a traditional village folk song with a lyrical and rhythmic structure that creates nothing but a melodious flow. Melodious. So, and here, if you see that the conversation between the mother and the daughter, right? The mother and the daughter, or you can say that the mother and daughter mirrors the cultural traditions of Indian villages, cultural tradition, where women are expected to marry and follow societal norms. In villages, you generally find out that women are expected to marry and follow whatever the society sets the rules and the norms. But some may dream of different life. But out of these women, village women, you find out some of them uh, dream a different life. What kind of a different life? So we can say that what they want to go out of the house, they want to make themselves independent, and you can say that they want to explore themselves. Isn't it educated, higher education, or called as they want to go for the job, migrate to the urban areas. So here, the word song in the title reflects what we understood village. So when we talk about the song, it indicates the musical and repetitive nature of the poem. With refrains like, oh, listen, and oh, whither are you going? Whither? WHITHER. Whither are you going? Where are you going? Even the emotional depth present in this folk song, or as folk songs often express what? Sadness, joy, and desire, longing. Or you can say that personal struggles. So, in this poem also you find out that even the poem carries nothing but the duality of voices. Duality means called as a two. The duality of voices. One is the mother's voice, which is rooted in duty and societal expectations, while the daughter's voice reflects personal freedom and a mystical desire. So the title Village Song therefore perfectly, finds both the rural atmosphere and the theme of inner conflict. Rural atmosphere and inner conflicts that makes the title apt in this particular poem. The next is called as a Sarojini Naidu. If you talk about the poet who was born in the year of 1879 and spent her life till the year of 1949. So Sarojini Naidu, often called the what? Nightingale of India, isn't it? who is the Nightingale of India, Sarojini Naidu, was a renowned Indian poet, freedom fighter, and a politician. So she was known for her lyrical poetry, rich in imagery, image, and musical quality. Her works often celebrated Indian traditions, nature, and the struggle or the struggles of women. If you observe that the key aspects of Naidu's poetry and themes, the poet presents nothing but the poems which are romantic and lyrical poetry, Indian cultural imagery, themes of feminism, female and individual freedom, and nationalist spirit. Now, when I talk about romantic and lyrical poetry, her poems are often compared to songs due to their melodious rhythm. And if you talk about Indian cultural imagery, she infused her poetry with the Indian landscapes, traditions, and folklore. Then the third is called as the themes of feminism and individual freedom. Many of her works highlight women's struggles and aspiration. And when we talk about nationalist spirit, as a political leader, she was also deeply involved in India's independence, right, movement, and prompted cultural pride throughout her poetry, isn't it? So most of her famous works, like you can say, The Golden Threshold is one of the poems in the year of 1905. The Bird of Time, another 1912, and The Broken Wing is also 1917. So in village song, what Sarojini Naidu did extra, she beautifully connects two things, intertwines nature, folklore, and you can say that feminist themes, more than two, and reflecting her deep connection to Indian tradition and her progressive thoughts on women's roles in society. So her poetic style marked nothing but a clear image, vivid imagery, musicality, and emotional depth that makes this poem a timeless piece. Timeless piece means what? Now, when people remember, right? Now, let's go to the poem. The poem begins with, honey child, whither are you going? Would you cast your jewels all to the breezes blowing? Would you leave the mother who on golden grain has fed you? Would you grieve the lover who is riding forth to wed you? Mother mine, to the wild forest I am going, where upon the champa birds are blowing. To the koi hunted river isles, where lotus lilies glisten. The voices of the fairy folk are calling me. Oh, listen. Honey child, the world is full of pleasure, of bridal songs and cradle songs and sandal scented leisure. Your bridal robes are in the loom, silver and saffron glowing. Your bridal cakes are on the ear. Oh, whither are you going? Now, the next it is stated that if you see this complete poem, in the last stanza, the poet stated, the bridal songs and cradle songs have cadences of sorrow, the laughter of the sun today, the wind of death tomorrow. Far sweeter sound the forest notes, where forest streams are falling. Oh, mother mine, I cannot stay. The fairy folk are calling. Now, in this particular poem, the poem's exploration of the tension between what? Societal expectation. And societal expectations and personal desires. that reflects the changing social norms of Naidu's time in India. Women were typically, during her time, expected to marry and raise families. But the poem suggests that there were also women who wanted a life outside of these rule, traditional roles. The poem's imagery and language are nothing but a huge, lush, and evocative influence, capturing the beauty and attracting the natural world. The use of repetition and refrain, again and again, the line or the phrases called a whole lesson, creates nothing but a sense of require, urgency, and desire. The poem's musicality, with its rhythmic language and cadence, adds to its lyrical quality. So, if you see that, the first line where the poem begins with, the first stanza and the first line, where the poet stated that, honey child, whither are you going? So here, whom do you find out address? Here the mother addresses. The mother addresses to whom? Her daughter, her beloved daughter, lovingly called her honey. Isn't it? She asks where she is going. Whither are you going? Whither means where are you going? So why? Now implying her curiosity and concern. Like mother generally concerns and curiosity to know about her daughter. Therefore, she stated, honey child, whither are you going? Would you cast your jewels all to the breezes blowing? The mother questions whether the daughter is willing to abandon the material wealth. Abandon means what? Discontinue or keep something at home and go out. So abandon the material wealth. Now what is that material wealth? Jewels, jewelry. So she has. Letting them be carried away by the wind. This symbolizes nothing but the leaving behind security and comfort. Now, what does it indicate? It indicates nothing but a security and comfort. Would you leave the mother who on golden grain has fed you? Even the second question is called as a mother reminds her that what? The daughter of the care and nourishment she has provided. What did she do? She fed her, right? She cared for her. She nourished her. So, when you say that golden grain, what do you mean by golden grain? Do you think that she fed the little girl on a golden bowl? Did she feed her daughter on golden bowl? No. Here, golden grain is symbolized nothing but the love. Golden grain symbolizes nothing but the sustenance and prosperity. She gave happiness, she gave love, she nurtured her, isn't it? Then the third question is called as, would you grieve the lover who is riding forth to wed you? Would you grieve the lover who is riding forth to wed you? So the mother brings up the daughter's fiancé. When we say that fiancé, it means what? That called as a would-be husband. So the mother brings up the daughter's fiancé who is eagerly coming to marry her. She implies that leaving would not only hurt her mother, but also the man who loves her. Isn't it? So this is what the first stanza where we find out mother addresses her daughter by putting, these are the questions. And she doesn't want her daughter go out. Right? So in the second stanza, now the daughter addresses. What is that? Our daughter replies, mother mine, to the wild forest I am going. So where does the daughter go? The daughter responds and addressing her mother affectionately and asserting her, declaring her desire to leave for the forest. So whereupon the champa birds are blowing, she describes the beauty of the forest, where champa flowers. Now you find out champa is a Odia term, right? It is a name of the flower, right? So champa flowers, that fragrant yellow color flowers, isn't it? So they are blooming on tree branches. Blooming means called as a prosper on tree branches, and that influences a sense of freshness and attractiveness, isn't it? When you see the champa flowers on the branches of the tree, you get attracted. You get the attraction on the basis of what? The fragrance and the beauty that attracts you. So, to the koi-hunted river islands where lotus lilies glisten, she also stated that she is drawn or attracted to the mystical beauty of nature. Mystical beauty means that the peaceful beauty of nature. So she says that where the Indian coil means coil is a name of the bird, isn't it? A melodious bird. So she said that where the Indian coil sings near the river island and the lotus flowers, lotus means you understand? Lotus is again another name of the flower. So lotus flowers shimmer in the water, shimmer in the water. So you find out that the lotus flower which produce in the water. So she wants to, she gets attracted by that flower. She gets attracted by the coil. She gets attracted by the champa flowers, right? So on the basis of the fragrance, on the basis of the beauty. So she also gets attracted to the peaceful nature. She gets attracted to the forest also. To the coil-haunted river isles where lotus lilies glisten. The voices of the fairy folk are calling me. The voices of the fairy folk are calling me. Oh, listen. So she also feels an irresistible, unable to control. So she gets pulled toward the enchanting world of the forest. As if fairies are calling her. Fairies, you understand? Angels, right? So making it seem magical and beyond the ordinary worlds. So generally we don't find out the fairies, but she says that she gets attracted and she is called by the fairies in the forest. So which generally we don't find out in the ordinary world. So she is fascinated with the magical world, isn't it? Got the point? So this is nothing but the second stanza where the daughter replies to her mother, where she goes and why she goes. So in the third stanza, we find out, honey child, the world is full of pleasure. Now the mother again responds. So mother tries again to persuade. Persuade means convince. So mother tries again to persuade her daughter to stay, emphasizing the joys and pleasures the world offers. So, of bridal songs and cradle songs and sandal-scented leisure. Now, during the marriage ceremony, how a bride gets decorated, how a bride gets, appeared, that has been pointed. She describes the happiness of marriage and family life. So she says that what happens in the marriage, wedding songs, lullabies for children, lullabies. That's something, do you understand the meaning of lullabies? When the baby cries, mother used to sing song, isn't it? Chanda mama aega. Right. So that's something called as lullabies. Lullabies for children. And the luxurious scent of sandalwood. Right. So representing nothing but the warmth and comfort. Your bridal robes are in the loom, silver and saffron glowing. So don't go. You have a beautiful robe, bridal robes. They are in the beautiful appearance. So they are in silver and saffron glowing. So the mother points out that preparation for her wedding are underway, going on. The bridal robes means dress. The bridal robes shining in the silver and saffron. What do you mean by saffron? Yellow and orange mixed, right? That symbolizes what? Prosperity and celebration. Prosperity and celebration. Your bridal cakes are on the earth. Your bridal cakes are on the earth. Oh, whither are you going? So she mentions that wedding cakes are already being made, showing showing how deeply invested the family is in her future marriage. She again asks where she is going in disbelief. In disbelief means she doesn't believe that. In the fourth stanza, you find out the bridal songs and cradle songs have cadences of sorrow. The daughter expresses her own perspective. Own perspective means her own goal. Right? That what? The traditional joys of marriage and motherhood are also tied to sadness and restriction, isn't it? Like I told you at the initial part of this poem, that what? This poem indicates nothing but the what? Means how the society sets rule for the woman, right? And the women who live in the rural areas restricted in the marriage and, household activities. They don't have their independence. So the same thing, here you would find out that what, Mama, you are saying that what means about my marriage, about the bridal songs, about the saffron colored bridal robes. But what about my perspective? What about my goal? Right? So the traditional joys of marriage and motherhood are also tied to what? Sadness and restrictions. If I get into the marriage, after marriage I become the motherhood, right? I become mother, right? So, and I will be restricted to all the activities happen in house, and I become sad, isn't it? This suggests what? She sees life's pleasures as temporary or burdensome. Life's pleasure, life's pleasures are temporary or burdensome. So she says that the laughter of the sun today, the laughter of the sun today, the wind of death tomorrow, the laughter of the sun today, the wind of death tomorrow. She points out, she remembers on the impermanence of happiness, something which is not permanent. Happiness is not permanent. What is joyful today can turn into sadness tomorrow. Just as the bright sun, just as the bright sun can be replaced by the cold, harsh wind of death. Isn't it? So, far sweeter sound, the forest notes where forest streams are falling. Far sweeter sound, the forest notes where forest streams are falling. She prefers that what? She prefers the natural, eternal melodies of the forest. So, natural, that feels with the nature. Eternal, something which is present in the nature, permanence. And you would find out melodies, right? So those are the things present in the forest, like the sound of stream flowing. The sound of the stream flowing means how the lake water flows. It makes the noise, isn't it? So over the transient joys of human life, and that is something called as a beyond the happiness of human life. So, oh mother mine, I cannot stay. The fairy folk are calling. Oh mother mine, I cannot stay. The fairy folk are calling. So she firmly decides. She firmly decides to leave. Why? Because she feels a mystical. She feels otherworldly calling from the fairy pot. Right? She feels representing freedom, escape, or a higher spiritual purpose. Right? So, if you see that overall interpretation of this poem is what? That the poem presents a conflict between tradition and personal freedom, isn't it? Tradition and personal freedom. So, the mother represents a societal expectation. What is the societal expectations? Marriage, family, security, while the daughter desires independence and a life in a nature, symbolizing self-discovery, symbolizing a spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening means I will follow what my mind, what my body, what my soul desires. So the imagery of the forest with its champa flowers, quail birds, and fairy voices that contrast with the materialistic comforts of home. So the daughter rejects the material comforts of home and wants to follow those of the natural beauty, spiritual awakening. At the end of the poem, you find out the daughter rejects those traditional roles and follows her own path, making this poem a powerful reflection on what? Choice, desire, and the search for deeper meaning of life. That is what the point. So, in that case, if I talk about the poem and analyze the poem, critically analyze the poem, I find out that what the theme and the meaning of this poem, Village Song, explores the conflict between tradition and individual freedom. The poem presents a conversation between a mother and a daughter, highlighting two contrasting goals, one rooted in societal norms and the other desiring for a mystical escape. Right? So the mother represents traditional expectations, emphasizing the joys of marriage, material wealth, and family duty. She tries to convince her daughter to hold an ordinary life that filled with the comfort, marriage, and security. At the same time, the daughter, however, desires a spiritual or mystical journey that is attracted to the beauty and freedom of nature. She finds greater appeal in the, happiness call of the fairy form, the forest, and the river isles rather than in marriage and domestic life. The poem reflects Naidu's feminist and nationalist ideas, questioning whether a woman must conform to social expectation, must abide to social expectation, or whether she can choose her own path. So, the tone and mood, you would find out the mother and the daughter is different. Whereas if you talk about that two distinct tones are present. One, if you talk about the mother's tone, you would find out persuasive, convincing to daughter, affectionate, loving, pleading. Pleading means requesting. So she lovingly tries to convince her daughter of the joys of marriage and security. The repetition of honey child conveys warmth and concern, whereas the daughter's tone is called as a dreamy, mystical, and determined. Right? She sees the natural world as a place of beauty and freedom, expressing a desire for something beyond conversational life. Her words have, an almost hypnotic. Hypnotic means hypnotized. So, hypnotic quality as she desires or she insists she must leave. She must leave. So, the overall mood of the poem is nothing but a sad, melancholic, yet hopeful. Sad, yet hopeful. While the mother's word carry a sense of sadness and loss, the daughter's goal is filled with happiness and an almost supernatural allure. Right. So the poem follows nothing but a dialogic structure. If you observe the style of the poem, how it is written, dialogic, like dialogue. How? Now, because resembling a conversation between the mother and her daughter. And this back to forth or back and forth exchange enhances or increases the emotional intensity, making it more dramatic, isn't it? So that's what you would find out if I talk about the poetic devices that are used in this poem. Obviously, you find out many of the poetic devices. The first one is called as the imagery, right? So, what is that imagery? Now, the poem is rich in sensory description, influencing picture, and you can say that sights, sounds, and fragrance. Sights means you can see, sounds you can hear, fragrance that you can smell, right? So, where the poet stated the champa uh, boats, the champa birds are blowing. That nothing but a visual and olfactory. To the coil haunted river isle where lotus glisten, lilies glisten. That also indicating auditory and visual, imagery. Beside imagery, you also find out alliteration. Alliteration is called as the repetition of consonant sounds that creates a musical effect. Like you can say that silver and saffron glowing, silver and saffron. That indicates nothing but a repetition of S sound. Bridal songs and cradle songs. Now repetition of bridal and cradle, B and C. Symbolism, like you can say the poem uses various symbols to express deeper meaning. Let's say that jewels and bridal robes that symbolizes nothing but a material wealth, right? Material wealth and traditional robe, champa flowers and forest notes that represent beauty of nature, right? And freedom. Fairy folk that could symbolize what? Mystical force, spirituality, or an escape from social constraints. We also find out contrast that called as a juxtaposition, another poetic devices which is called as a juxtaposition. So what is that juxtaposition? Like you find out the poem contrast two pranams, two different worlds, two different worlds. So the mother's world of security and tradition versus the daughter's world of nature and spiritual calling. The fleeting joys of human life, the laughter of the sun today, and the wind of death tomorrow. So if you burn, then you will die, isn't it? So the eternal apple of the wild. So personification, another poetic devices where you find out nature is given human qualities. Like the voices of the fairy folk are calling me. So that implies nature is alive. Nature is means mystical. The laughter of the sun today, the wind of death tomorrow. Sun and wind are given human emotions. Then next one is called as a metaphor. The laughter of the sun today and the wind of death tomorrow is also indicating metaphor. Metaphor means comparison, direct comparison. So how life's joys are compared to the sun, while death is likened to the wind. So emphasizing nothing but the transient nature of happiness. Transient means called as a temporary. So even you find out the last poetic devices is called refrain. So what is that? Oh, whither are you going? Oh, listen, the fairy folk are calling. These repeated lines which are reinforces the poem's central conflict. All total, in conclusion, we can find out Village Song is a beautifully crafted, decorated poem that explores the tension between societal duty and personal desire through rich imagery and musical language. What Sarojini Naidu creates a poignant contrast between a mother's affectionate persuasion and a daughter's desiring for liberation or freedom. The poem reflects themes of freedom, self-discovery, and the mystical allure of nature, while also at the same time it critically details the limitation placed on women in traditional society. The dreamlike tone, rhythmic style enhances its folk style quality. So, and creates nothing but a folk song. So, and making it deeply influenced and thought provoking piece. So, that's what is